I ran my first 100-mile trail race a couple weeks ago, but I never ran a single week over 50 miles in my training. But the question is, would I do it again? I've now finished 5 ultra marathons, and all of my races, I have never been a high volume guy. I think for every single race, I've never run the amount of miles that the race was going to be in a given week in the training leading up to the race. Running 3 to 4 times per week. Maybe I would throw in a week where I would do 5 runs, but for the most part, the runs didn't just completely take over my life. Now, maybe on Saturdays, I would get to the point where I was doing 20, 25, and then eventually I peaked at a 30-mile training run. And that took, like 7 hours, I think, that day with a ton of vert. So that kind of took over my life, but that was also just on Saturday, and it was one day a week that I would plan for. So it wasn't really that big of a deal. This is what my average step count chart looked like in the training for my October 50-miler last year. Getting up into the upper teens, 18,000 steps per day on average. So going into the 100, I knew I had to up that so my body was just used to being on its feet longer or just moving more throughout the day. And that's kind of exactly what I did. So these 3 months leading up to the race, June, July, and August, we can see that the incremental increase in average steps, all averaging over 20,000 steps per day. I get in my runs 3-4 days per week, and then the rest of the time I would go for 3-mile walks, 5-mile walks, 6-mile hike. I would add those things in because they were less taxing on me, and I could still do my lifting workouts. I can still do everything that I was going to do in a given day. So I knew my body was at least in the best condition it's ever been in terms of being able to handle more movement and more time on its feet. During the actual race, I really didn't think that I had a problem. I felt great and I was in great spirits really up until about mile 70, 75. Once I reached mile 70, 75, I've had this recurring ankle issue that I haven't really been able to get to the bottom of. Hopefully now I am. But that was just flaring up. And so it made every step on that right side just absolutely excruciating. And essentially I went from being able to jog the flats and the downs to just completely death marching the last 20 to 25 miles. But was that a lack of training, or is that something that I just couldn't avoid because I have some sort of chronic issue going on? I think I trained fine. I think I rested into the race fine. I felt really, really good. And overall, my overall body, yeah, it was tired, but I still had a little bit of juice at the end to run that last piece into the finish. So I don't think I needed more miles under my belt in training. The question is, would I do it again? If I was trying to PR a 100 mile and go fast, more running probably is not going to hurt you. But if I want to just do it and be able to do it and get my body into the physical condition to handle it, especially if you have more than 10,000 feet of elevation gain. This race had, I think, 14 or 15,000 feet of vert, but anything more than that is going to require less running, more hiking. And so maybe a weighted vest or maybe just more hiking in general and more time on feet in general would be better, just learning how to move at a faster pace without running. So this experiment, I think, worked well.